Hello listeners and welcome to episode 225 of the SuperLeague pod. While mum's off being all sophisticated in Italian, we bring you a wet and wild trip through the world of rugby league, taking in the sights of coaching changes, what would John Keir's reality show be called, and more drop goals than you can shake a stick at. Strap yourselves in kids, it's SLP time. Hello and welcome to episode 225 of the Super League pod. I'm Tim and I'm joined here tonight by Sarah. Good evening, Sarah.
Good evening. Are you all right?
Yes, I'm not too bad. Had a very nice weekend at a friend's wedding, and then we popped to see my sister on the way back because we were down in Devon.
Lovely. Did you have good weather?
It was actually. The only point it rained was during the speeches, so when everybody was indoors and didn't really care.
That's all right.
Yeah, it was perfect. But there was towards the end of the day, they had a massive firework display because the bride's dad owned a firework company.
Cool.
So it was a huge firework display going on. So if you were in the North Devon area and you saw a massive firework display, that's what it was. It went on.
We went to a friend's wedding and the best man worked in pyrotechnics. So yeah, there was an amazing firework display at the end as well.
It was incredible. They had a crew of 4 just to do the fireworks.
Nice.
I was quite impressed. And then we popped to see my sister on the way back, which was good fun. What have you been up to?
On Saturday, I had a book stall at the local. It's the place that all the peripatetic music comes out of. So both boys play instruments there. So it was a fundraiser for them, and a bit of like an open day. So Joshua played his trombone in it, and Luke played his violin. That was most of Saturday. And apart from that, it's just been family stuff. So it's been a nice weekend.
Excellent. Well, don't forget this episode is sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop. You can find a wide range of toys, gifts, rugby league birthday cards and more at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. And you can visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop, and on any orders over £5 you can earn 5% cash back. And also 1% of your order value will go into the SLP coffers by putting SLP discount at checkout. So what have we got coming up this evening or today, depending on when you're listening it?
We've got golden points, a boatload of news, including some grubby retirements, and only single quizzing because there were only so many quiz questions I could come up with featuring 18-19.
Fair enough. So we've got some quizzing going on, and that's pretty much it. Anything else? I suppose as we do at this point, do you want to give us an update on the Mighton Warriors and how the guys are getting on down there?
Yeah, they had. So 2 weeks ago, they played against Cot Tigers and they did really, really well. And I think had they actually had any substitutes, they'd have probably gone on to win it. But Cot pulled away at the end due to just having some fresh legs. And then Thursday just gone, we played Skirler, who are a large and very, very good team. Yes, they didn't get on quite so well there. But yeah, they're making progress. We've got... one of our coaches has moved to the under 7s because his son plays there and they were struggling for coaches. And he's been replaced by another Rovers fan, much to Joshua's horror.
Excellent. It's nice to see the representation going on. And it's keeping up a diversity quota in the club, if nothing else.
Definitely, yeah. So, Andy has been replaced by Andy, just to keep things simple for the kids.
Excellent. It's like Dick Sargent and Dick York on Bewitched. Just swap someone for the same names and no one knows the difference.
Yeah. You don't want to make it complicated and risk anyone forgetting.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for that update. And I think now it's time to go into the news section.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in news this week, Hull KR appointed former England and Great Britain coach Tony Smith as head coach less than 24 hours after Tim Sheens left the club. Smith, who's 52, left Warrington in 2017 after almost 9 years in charge. He signed an initial contract until the end of the season. Sheens left his post as head coach of Rovers after a run of 5 defeats in 6 Super League games, with the Robins second from bottom in the table, having lost 11 of their 16 league matches this season. Sheens, 68, had been at the Caircon Craven Park since the start of the 2017 campaign, leading the club to promotion from the Championship that year. And we had quite a bit of feedback on that.
Yes, we did, starting with our resident superfan of all things news and views, Tom Andrews, who says, well, I hope this is read out after a glorious win over the Pies, but I highly doubt it. You're right there, Tom. Absolutely gutted to see Tim go. I feel so much of the bad fortune has been out of his hands, mainly with injuries, but I can also see where he has led to his own downfall. Regularly using 16 players is bizarre, not trusting the young lads to dig in and have a go, signing Atkin and playing him for 10 minutes a game. Yeah, that all sounds shockingly familiar, doesn't it? It's almost a bit sort of Brian McDermott-esque, isn't it? With the
I was going to say, it seems to be a theme for coaches coming towards the end of their time at a club, doesn't it?
Yeah, not trusting kids, signing players from lower leagues and not using them, and
it's not using all your players as well.
Yeah, which is something I've never understood. If you're willing to pay them the money to sit on the bench, you may as well get something out of them on the field. But there we go.
Exactly, yeah.
Who else got in touch?
So Genghis Campbell got in touch and said Budget Tyres in Hull tweeted him, that's Tim Sheens, doing business with them yesterday. I guess he was expecting to get another 20,000 kilometres of wear in Yorkshire. Kind of feel sorry for the guy. New tyres aren't cheap, and they probably forced him into doing a rotation and nitrogen inflation. On the other hand, maybe he got them on credit and got Darcy Lussick to check them as an excess baggage on the flight to Sydney.
Oh, yeah, there we go. More on that story later. Rich Langley says, not a surprise, but seems to have been handled poorly by the club, with the media reporting being sacked the day before. They'll still finish 11th. I think it was as early as Monday that it was being reported, and it seemed to drag on throughout the week. It
did, yeah. It got to the point where you were thinking, has he or hasn't he? Like, have we missed an announcement somewhere?
And certainly, it'd been announced that he'd been by certain sources in the media that he'd been sacked, and then there he was being pictured at training the next day. It's a bit ludicrous, and then 2 days later he is sacked.
Yeah.
I think, well, if it got out at that point, the club then has to act and just take it. At the very least, he shouldn't have taken training the next morning. That's very bizarre.
Yeah, it sort of lacks a little bit, doesn't it?
And from a playing point of view, it must be unsettling to see him come in and say, "Oh, I read you were sacked last night. What happened?"
Paul Chamberlain also got in touch and said, great stuff that Hull KR think an NRL and World Cup winning coach is the root of their problems.
Yeah, but what is it? How far does the root go back though? That's the dangerous question, isn't it?
Indeed, yeah.
Tim Andrews says, Tony Smith's. Oh, sorry, we had a musical emoji. Oh, Tony Smith's a wizard. He wears a wizard hat. That's it. The best coach in the league joins the biggest club in the league. Top 5, here we come.
And then Tom Andrews gets in touch again and says, so as fast as you can say farewell to the wizard, Tony Smith jumps into the TS embroidered coaching jacket. Solid money saving idea training gear wise. It's a much better appointment than I was expecting. Just think it stinks how fast it's all been done. Obviously in the works for a few weeks. Poor form from my club. Let's see how it goes. You can't polish a turd, but you can sprinkle glitter on it.
Unless it's been frozen and it's archaeological, then you can. In fact, it becomes to the point where you can polish it, according to my friend who's an archaeologist.
Well, there you go then.
Anyway, Josh rounds out the views on this one, saying, well, look at that. The bookies didn't have time to even put odds up before KR announced his appointment. Yeah, but did the bookies even care? That's the other question.
Well, yeah.
Makes me wonder what we're doing. Always like Tony Smith. Him and Danny will be a good future partnership. Yeah, I mean, let's touch on Tim Sheens first. I think it's clear he had probably come towards the end of his shelf life. However, changing at this point in the season is a big throw of the dice because it's too late really to do too much different, and is the upheaval going to have a negative effect would be my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, when the news came through, I thought, oh, that's something to, have a bit of fun with on Monday night. The fact that they've sacked Tim Sheens and then they've appointed Tony Smith, and I thought, that's actually quite a good appointment, I think. Although it'll be interesting to see what he can do within the club.
Yeah, I mean it's a really good appointment from that perspective. When I saw it came through. I was very surprised. I was expecting James Ford or another young coach stepping up, possibly even Richard Marshall to come in, someone of a lower level to come in, but that would be a poison chalice, and you'd think it would kind of potentially finish them off coming into a team with that many things going on and going wrong. That in that position, the benefit with Tony Smith is he is solid in himself and he knows his own coaching. He knows what he wants and what he'll want to do, and it's just getting time with the players to be able to get into them and really get his own methods across and get them. How much you can change at this point is always a question, but then he's kind of got a free hand, because if he keeps them up, then brilliant. And his stock will rise, and by not having a long-term deal, it keeps his options if things go well as well. So it works for both parties. I can see why, and he clearly looks a lot more refreshed than he did certainly at the end of his spell with Warrington. But then he seemed to be like that at the time he's reached every end of every job he's had. Certainly when he reached the end of Great Britain, he looked like he needed a long holiday, and pretty much the same when he left Leeds. He was looking like he needed that break, because he'd kind of got jaded and too used to things. Whether he can, hopefully with a short-term deal, he can keep things fresh and keep things moving forward. It's potentially interesting, but you'd have to say, being the out of form side in that bottom pack, it's not looking brilliant.
No, it does make me wonder whether this was in the pipelines and that's why Danny Maguire agreed to stay on, re-sign the contract.
That's a good point. That would be, yeah. You can see the appeal from his point of view. Someone he knows very well and got really the best years out of him playing wise, and someone he's obviously able to work with. And he decided that was the offer he was going to take, rather than potentially another offer back. Presumably at Leeds there was, certainly they were trying to sign him for the remainder of this season.
Yeah,
we're presuming they were trying to get him in for something else as well.
Yeah, so as you say, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out for them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can read too much into this week's result, because it's just he would have only had one, possibly two sessions with the team. How much you can change in that point, who knows?
Yeah, well, it feels like, when you arrive at that stage in the week, it's a case of go out there and do what you've been told to do, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think
so you don't want to put too many changes in, do you, at that point?
No, you just don't have time to. There's enough going on a normal match day that you have to get organised for, that trying to get the rest of it done just isn't going to happen.
No.
Okay, anything else to say on this one?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next news story, that is Wigan will sign Castleford Pop Mitch Clark on a 3-year deal, and the Salford centre Jake Bibby on a 2-year deal from the 2020 season. Bibby, who's 22, has enjoyed a fine start to the season for the Red Devils with 9 tries in 12 appearances. Clark, who's 26, joined the Tigers from Hull KR in 2018 and scored 3 tries in 23 games for Darryl Powell's side. Meanwhile, winger Joe Burgess, who's 24, prop Tony Clubb, who's 21, and the centre Chris Hankinson have signed new deals. In addition, academy graduate Jack Wells has signed a new 2-year deal, with Oliver Partington and Morgan Smithies, who are 20 and 18, both signing up for a further 4 years. And we had some views on this one.
Yep, Tom Andrews says, Mitch Clark, the man who couldn't get into KR's championship squad, very odd. Spelled with 3 Ds.
Yeah, well,
particularly odd.
It's an interesting one, but he's a completely different player to that
Yep.
player. So it doesn't surprise me. He's someone who you can see fitting into the mould of player that they're probably looking for, someone who they can improve. And if you're looking at him as probably as your bench, your 1 or 2 bench forward, it's probably not a bad deal, depending on how the money is. And Paul Chamberlain says, decent enough players, but is this not just a sign of Wigan's issue?